dramatic moment when police arrest Andrew McCann in an Arkansas barbershop, charging him with the cold-blooded murder of two parents killed in a state park with their daughters nearby. The stylist who was cutting the 28-year-old's hair says she knew something was off.
He didn't want anything cut from the top of his head. He wanted to hide his face.
Authorities releasing heartbreaking new details about how Kristen and Clinton Brink fought to protect their daughters, only 7 and 9 years old, from the horrors that were unfolding.
They absolutely protected those girls to their fullest extent, to the point that it cost them their lives. We're in awe of this mom and dad.
According to police, the girl's father was attacked first, and then his wife rushed to get their children out of harm's way.
We believe that the mother took them to safety and then returned to help her husband.
Police say the assault appeared to be completely random, and they're trying to understand why McCann, who had recently moved to Arkansas to become a fifth-grade teacher, targeted the couple. The Brinks fought back, police say, as their killer stabbed them, and their fight for survival appears to have helped police crack the case. The suspect was injured, leaving blood and DNA at the scene, and those brave little girls doing their part too, helping police by providing a description of the suspect.
To be able to make this arrest, it all started with those two little girls. It's incredible.
Those brave children and their heroic parents, symbols today of the human spirit, despite tragic circumstances. Guys.
That is so true, Pierre. We are thinking about those little girls in the midst of such a senseless attack. Thank you.
Much love, respect, and appreciation to every single one of you tuning in right now. I don't take your time or your support for granted. So before anything else, let me just say thank you. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for being part of this community where we can speak truth without sugarcoating it. Because it's only through real conversations like this that we shine light on what others try to keep in the dark. Now, let's get into what you just heard. Think about the arrogance it takes to commit a double murder, then walk into a barbershop as though nothing happened. Hiding his head wasn't about style, it was about shame. He knew what he had done, and he knew the blood he spilled would follow him. But arrogance makes a man believe he can cover sin with a haircut, that if the outside looks clean, the inside won't matter. Yet the truth always leaks through, and in that barbershop chair his disguise began to crumble. This moment separates ordinary from extraordinary. Clinton fought with everything in him, refusing to surrender his home or his family to a stranger's evil. Kristen, instead of running for her life, placed her daughters in safety and then made the unthinkable choice to return to her husband's side. That act alone defines the very essence of sacrifice. Most people would have fled, but she went back into danger because love was stronger than fear. Together, husband and wife stood against death itself, not as victims, but as warriors who gave their last breath defending the life they built. They didn't simply die in tragedy. They wrote a final chapter of courage, a testimony that love is not proven in comfort, but in the fire of sacrifice. Their last act was not of weakness, but of strength, and that strength will echo in the lives of their daughters forever. A man trusted to guide children, to shape young minds, suddenly transforms into a murderer. That's the hidden danger of evil. It doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it comes packaged in respectability, a degree, a teaching license, a smile that reassures parents their children are safe. But beneath the surface can rest a heart that beats with darkness, a mind twisted enough to destroy a family without reason, without mercy, without warning.
School teacher is now under arrest in Arkansas, accused of murdering two parents on a hiking trail. The crime has left a quiet community shaken. A husband and wife murdered in a popular state park with their young children nearby. Today, the search continues for answers. ABC's Alex Stone reports.
Arkansas police are working to piece together what led up to the tragic deaths of Clinton and Kristen Brink. The married couple was killed while hiking on a popular trail with their two young daughters, ages 7 and 9. The daughters were not physically harmed.
The information that was put out, the request for information back from the public, directly resulted in this person being brought into custody.
Under arrest is 28-year-old Andrew James McCann, a former fifth-grade teacher from Oklahoma who recently moved to Arkansas for a new teaching job, according to Springdale Public Schools. Now charged with 2 counts of capital murder, but he has not yet entered a plea. He's due to appear in court tomorrow.
During an interview with investigators, the suspect indicated that he did commit these murders.
Police say McCann was arrested mid-haircut while at a local barber shop following a days-long manhunt. Last Saturday, the Brinks were found dead on that park trail. Friends of the Brinks are baffled as to why they would be victimized, saying they were kind and genuine.
I'm really struggling to understand why or how this could happen to such sweet people.
Police say they believe the Brinks did not know their killer, that it appeared to have been random. The Brinks were stabbed to death. The 2 girls are now with family members who released a statement saying, quote, Clinton and Kristen died heroes protecting their little girls and they deserve justice. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Often teaches us to trust the face of professionalism, but this case tears the mask away and shows us that credentials do not equal character. A man who should have been a source of light instead chose to become an agent of death. And the lesson hidden here is chilling. Evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it sits quietly in a classroom, waiting for its moment to strike. Justice often begins with fragments, drops of blood, a child's trembling words, the smallest details left behind in the chaos of violence. Clinton and Kristen's desperate fight for survival carved a trail that could not be erased, a trail that told investigators exactly where to look and who to find. In the middle of their grief, their daughters carried a weight no child should ever bear, standing before officers and giving voice to the nightmare they had witnessed. They became unwilling witnesses, yet their courage rose far beyond their years. It was their clarity, their innocence, their truth that helped strip away the lies and unmask the man who thought he could vanish into silence. The blood cried out, the evidence spoke, but it was the voices of those little girls that carried the power of justice forward. Pay attention to what's missing. Headlines elevate the victims, painting them as heroes, and they were. But notice how the criminal is softened, his image trimmed of ugliness. The words thug, animal, monster, they are absent, words so quickly used when the accused looks different, when his skin tells another story. Why? Because society struggles to brand a white killer with the same venom it spits at others. And so, the coverage tilts, the narrative bends, the public is left with a portrait of tragedy, but not a full picture of evil. The story becomes incomplete, unbalanced, when the villain is shielded by silence, when his darkness is wrapped in softer language to protect an image that never deserved protecting. What we see is not just crime. It is the quiet bias of a system that decides whose humanity is highlighted and whose monstrosity is hidden. Justice thrives on transparency. It breathes in the open air of accountability. But here, the doors closed, the cameras cut off, and the truth dimmed into shadows. Ask yourself, why would an open proceeding in a double murder case suddenly be hidden from the eyes of the public? Secrecy does not protect the grieving family. Secrecy does not comfort the children left behind. Secrecy only breeds suspicion. When the light of justice is shut out, darkness fills the gaps, and people are left to wonder what is being shielded and for whose benefit.
Well, it's an interesting day here inside the Washington County Detention Center where Andrew McCann is being held without bond, charged with 2 counts of capital murder. Today was his arraignment hearing. Normally that happens not in this room. There's a waiting room and there's makeshift courtroom, so to speak, on the few rooms over. Normally, those arraignment proceedings are put on a monitor where the public can see and hear. Not today. When we arrived, there was a court order preventing any of that from happening. The public was not allowed to witness McCann's arraignment. Now, he has been, according to the prosecutor, because we couldn't see the arraignment, the prosecutor says McCann has been issued public defenders with the Arkansas Indigent Defense Team. He says coming up next will be preliminary hearings throughout. All those hearings will happen in the Washington County Courthouse, Washington County Circuit Court. He says, the prosecutor, that McCann pleaded not guilty to those 2 capital murder charges. And he says that he doesn't know of any defense attorney that would allow any other pleading in a case like this than a not guilty plea. And as far as timeline, he tells it that this case will take longer than most other cases would take for it to go to trial or to reach a conclusion. And as far as just exactly what that time frame is, we can't tell you for sure, but longer than most other cases is what the prosecutor says. And he also tells us that he was unaware of the order that was posted on the door here, preventing cameras and preventing the public. It was filed late yesterday afternoon, prohibiting that order. Let's take a look at it. It was posted on the door here inside the Washington County Detention Center, prohibiting cameras, broadcasting, other means. It was signed by Crawford County, Washington County Circuit Court Judge Joanna Taylor. Now that you see what that order says, but bailiffs and jailers would not allow anyone in. That meant that what happened today was the public was not allowed to witness this arraignment. Now, attorneys that I've talked to, normally arraignments are public. It's transparency. That's the court process. If someone's accused of a crime, that's a public hearing, but not in this case. We were told that only defense attorneys, prosecuting attorneys, and the judge were allowed to be in that arraignment. So we just talked to the prosecuting attorney. We'll have more on that coming up tonight, of course. We tried to talk to the defense attorneys, but they were not issuing any statements. We'll show you video and tell you more about them coming up tonight. For now, we're live in Fayetteville. Brett Rains, 4029 News.
All right, Brett, thanks so much for this latest updates. Just talking to the prosecutor, Brandon Carter there. Carter told us that this is the hard part. The long walk begins now, and it says that McCann's demeanor, that he was quiet and emotionless, and the only thing he said in the courtroom during that arraignment when the charges of capital murder were read to him were not guilty. Again, the state is seeking the death penalty on this. Remember, Arkansas State Police called these killings completely random at Devil's Den State Park, a double murder. McCann is accused of killing 43-year-old Clinton Brink and 41-year-old Amanda Brink on the hiking trail at Devil's Den. 2 daughters were also there with them. They were unharmed.
History has shown us that when justice hides, it is rarely to honor the victims. It is to preserve the image of the system, to control perception, to keep uncomfortable truths from being fully seen. And in that silence, trust begins to erode, because true justice does not fear the light. This may not be an isolated tragedy. 1 state, 2 states, the threads begin to connect, and a pattern starts to emerge that chills the soul. Evil rarely confines itself to a single act. It moves quietly, sometimes for months, sometimes for years, leaving destruction in its wake before anyone can see it. When killers are shielded early, protected by the very systems meant to stop them, their crimes multiply in silence, accumulating like shadows in the night. If this link proves true, then Arkansas was not the beginning. It was merely the point where the predator's path finally intersected with justice. Every life before that, every horror left unpunished, becomes part of the story that could have been stopped, a trail of suffering that might have been prevented had truth and accountability been allowed to shine earlier. The Brinks didn't live to tell their story, but their courage resonates louder than any headline or news segment could ever convey. Their daughters, scarred by the violence they witnessed yet alive, carry forward the weight and the memory of that bravery, a living testament to the sacrifices their parents made. This case forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth. How many tragedies are hidden in silence, buried by the systems and narratives that choose convenience over clarity? How do we ensure that the world never forgets the courage of the innocent, the lives taken while the public looked away, the acts of love that cost everything yet left behind a legacy too powerful to ignore? The Brinks story challenges us to remember, to honor, and to demand accountability, reminding us that heroism is often found in the quietest, most devastating moments, and that even in loss, the light of courage endures. Much love and respect to everyone watching. Thank you for being part of this community where we speak truth and shine light on what others hide. Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this story, and don't forget to subscribe. Let's keep uncovering the stories that matter.